Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today on Round Glass Living. I'm Vishvapani, and this series is called Experience Mindfulness. So, in today's practice, we'll be focusing our minds, and we're going to be doing that by settling our attention on the breath. So this is a mindfulness practice, and John Kabat-Zinn, the person who really started the modern exploration of mindfulness, said mindfulness means being alive and knowing you're alive. So it's really simple, being alive and knowing you're alive. But the implications of that go a long way. We spend a lot of our lives on what we can call autopilot, sort of automatically going through the motions. And our thoughts are constantly hijacking our attention. And this is something that we notice particularly in meditation, but of course it's happening all the time. A thought comes in, and before you know, we're thinking about it, we're acting on it. So reclaiming our minds in order that we can be alive and know that we're alive is a skill. It's something that we learn through practice over time. It's a skill that we cultivate. And this is really central to what we're doing in meditation. So we're going to be using the breath as our focus, and we're going to be working with thoughts. Using images, we can imagine our thoughts are like clouds, like ripples. Let's see what happens. Okay, so let's make a transition. And what we want to do in making a transition is bring as much of ourselves along as possible. So bring ourselves in fully into the practice. And we've already started that process. You know, you're watching the app. You've got that in front of you. You've made a decision that this is your time. This is mindful time. And we've started. I've been setting the scene. And now we need to make subtler changes that will help us make a fuller transition. What we don't want to do is still be engaged in the thing that we were doing before, and because we'll just keep thinking about it. So what will help us to really come into this moment right now? Let's just pay attention to the body. And we can do this in just quite external ways. Feet on the floor. I'm looking down at my feet and they're touching the floor. No shoes on. I find that really helps. And I'm feeling the floor. And gradually bringing my awareness. Let's bring our awareness into what we can feel, what we can sense. Touching your thighs. Feeling your thighs. And when we're ready, closing our eyes, which takes our attention inwards. So now feeling the body from the inside. See, the senses are where our awareness can settle, can dwell, can live happily. Awareness of the body. And as we settle on the senses, we can leave aside thoughts. Just gradually having a sense of disentangling from thoughts. Now the thoughts are going to keep coming back, and they're going to keep coming back with a message that says, think about me, think about me. And we're just going to try and recognize that when that happens. So let's take a deep breath to activate the senses. Now the first breath will focus on breathing out And as we breathe out, a sense of releasing, letting go. Tensions, thoughts, busyness, all of that draining into the floor. Let's do that once more. Breathe in. And really focus on letting go, draining away, breathing out, letting our tensions, our thoughts, our busyness fall into the floor. And we're going to take another breath, and we'll focus on the in-breath and the body rising up and energy rising. So breathing in, feel the body come to its full natural height. And breathing out. So let's do that again. Another deep breath flowing in. Body rising, expanding, chest opening, shoulders falling back, opening. And let's stay focused on the in-breath. Let's have a sense of the body rising up and the energy rising through the body. And then on the out-breath, everything settling down. So rising up on the in-breath, settling down on the out-breath. So we can just let the breath flow in its natural way, not breathing deeply or breathing in a particular way, just letting the body do what it wants to do. And just have a sense of these two ways in which the breath is flowing. So it's like a wave rising, and we feel the energy rising up. As the breath flows in and the body expands. And then, like the wave receding or breaking as we breathe out, and the body softens and we release. So not exaggerating that, because that will become a bit tense quite quickly. But just bringing a vivid awareness of the breath by focusing on the sense of rising and settling as the breath flows in and the breath flows out. So noticing what's happening with our thoughts. If you've been stimulated, your mind's been active, there are probably quite a few thoughts. So we can keep on letting them go, keep on coming back. But I'm going to suggest another little technique or tool that can help us stay with the breath. We're going to count, if you want to, if it feels right for you. Drop in a count. So breathing in, breathing out, and counting 1. Just silently in your mind and lightly, just letting the number just rest. Breathing in, breathing out, 2. Breathing in, breathing out, 3. And we'll continue in that way up to, well, the number that feels right for you. 7 or 8 might be right for you. The busier your mind is, the lower that number should be. The count is there to help us focus. If you lose track of the counting, just start again. Come back to the breath and start again at 1. And it might help to also use the image of a wave. So the wave rises and falls, and as it reaches its lowest point, or the wave breaks on the shore, that's when we place the count. Counting the waves of breath. And this is still awareness of breath, not a counting exercise. So staying in touch with the physical sensations, the movement of the body. Remembering that the body feeds on oxygen. Feeds on the breath. It's what keeps us alive. And just noticing what's happening. What's happening in our experience. Now I invite you to make a choice as we continue with the practice. Either continuing to count or dropping the counting, depending on what you need. After a certain point, the counting might feel intrusive, but it might be that actually it's really helpful to have something so concrete to keep coming back to. Either way, let's bring a more vivid awareness to the movement of the whole body. Still having a sense of energy in the body, rising as we breathe in, settling as we breathe out. Like a wave, that rises and falls on the sea. Just feeling the body moving with the breath, particularly taking our awareness into all the sensations in the tummy, the abdomen that rises, that falls. And again, you might just want to stay with this, or you might want to move on to a final stage where we notice where the breath first enters the body. So that's the tip of the nose. Noticing any very subtle sensations of warmth and cool, of brushing, of contact or vibration, where the air enters into the nostrils. It might be in the left or the right nostril, it might move around. There's no rules, it's just noticing what's there at that first point of contact. And this is a one-pointed awareness. So gathering our attention, gathering our energy, gathering our presence around this subtle, vivid sensation. Everything coming together. Just staying present. Letting it all go. All the stuff that fills our heads, letting it go. And now broadening our awareness from this narrow focus to the body as a whole. Like shifting the beam of a torch from narrow to wide. feeling the whole body from the head to the feet, as if we've given ourselves a bath in awareness. And then starting to introduce a little movement at the shoulders, maybe moving your neck a little, fingers, toes, and bringing the practice gently to a close. Now, of course, with this practice or any of the the practices we do, you can always keep on meditating. You may want to just give yourself that time. So let's see how that went for you. There's a question here. How can I hush my inner critic gently? The voice inside my head wouldn't shut up. You didn't sleep enough, out of shape. Lots of my to-do list. Usually I feel zen after a few minutes, but not today. Okay, well, I'm sorry you didn't feel zen today. And that's just the way it is with meditation, you know? Hushing your inner critic. Maybe the inner critic didn't want to hush. Maybe your inner critic was rebelling against being hushed. And you're so strict, you won't even let me criticize you. I think the practice there is just noticing, all right, this is what my mind is like today. This is what my thoughts are like. That noticing is what really takes us out of that critical stance, because we need to hold quite lightly our idea that it should be a certain way when we meditate, that we should get that Zen state, maybe. There is a should, wherever there's a should, there's an element of tension, I think. So just holding it gently. And one of the things about engaging with meditation is being interested. How do we become interested in being quiet? How do we become interested in the body and the breath? I mean, aren't they boring? Many people would say that is quite a boring thing to do. So we have to make an emotional connection. And I think that's a big part of the exploration. And then what happens when we do that? Well, that's a mystery. And that mystery is what the little bit of wisdom I'm going to quote you to finish today is about. It's a poem by the American poet Wallace Stevens. It's a winter poem called The Snowman, about being fully present. One must have a mind of winter to regard the frost and the boughs of the pine trees crusted with snow, and have been cold a long time, to behold the junipers shagged with ice, the spruces rough in the distant glitter of the January sun, and not to think of any misery in the sound of the wind, in the sound of a few leaves, which is the sound of the land, full of the same wind that is blowing in the same bare place, for the listener who listens in the snow and nothing himself beholds nothing that is not there and the nothing that is. So thank you so much for sharing this time. Please continue to explore your meditation practice with us. Check out our daily live meditations at round.glass on our Round Glass Living app. Have a really great day and stay present.